Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered Joy, the show where we just talk about what's coming up in life. And today you have a special treat because my special guest is my very best friend, Cortnee B. How you doing, Court?
I am hanging in there.
I'm so excited to talk to you today on this because just so our listeners, viewers know, it has been, I think we've rescheduled like 3 times now. And so I just want to say how grateful I am that you found a way to fit me into your schedule. But more than that, that you are coming on at a time that feels really vulnerable, really sticky. Life's not easy. It feel all the feels. And that's actually why I wanted us to connect, if at all possible. Because originally I thought, oh my gosh, there's all these other topics we can talk about. And I know this won't be your last time on the show. But then if I can share, I'm just going to share. I'm just going to share because I know I can. Permission to share.
Always.
We're besties. It's fine. That a couple days ago, you messaged me and your exact words were, you know what? Life is just kicking me in the ass. Like it just feels like I'm getting hit from all the angles.
Right.
And I haven't heard you say that in a long time. We share a lot of things that are like, this feels hard, that feels hard, like work kind of sucks, or like, oh, my crazy in-laws or whatever. I don't know, like we just like everybody talks about different topics or whatever. But to hear you say, like, I knew from the sound in your voice, without you even telling me all of the things, I was like, wow, she really is in kind of deep in a way, like 2 steps away from going down the black hole. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I've come a really long way to be vulnerable about that and to just say, like, things are not okay right now. And I know that's something that you and I talk about a lot. But I just needed to put that out there. And so putting it out there, I think, made me feel better. And it makes it a little bit more real because in my brain, I sometimes just try to say, you're fine. It's okay. You'll make it through, like we all do, right? So just stating it is always really helpful for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I haven't been
mean,
that way in a long time.
yeah, which is why it's so cool because you have done so much healing work on yourself to recognize when you're in that space. I feel like years ago, you would have just kept it all in, shoved it all down, tried to go on. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's just like, I can't even. And
Right.
now it's like, I just feel like life is just kicking me. Like,
Yeah.
when is it going? I feel like it's like, when is it going to stop?
Yes.
When is the stuff going to stop? And I feel like a lot of people feel like that right now. Are you feeling
Mhm.
the heaviness kind of like collectively?
Yeah, I think so. You saying, like, I used to be a person that would keep it all in, like, that's the curse of being a people pleaser,
Yep.
one. And two, just I think the mentality that we see a lot out in the world of just stay positive, you got this, you're strong, you're tough. And, those things are true, but I found that I have to be careful with myself and even with other people too, that you can be strong and you can be tough. And it's okay to say, like, things are just heavy. Heavy
Yeah.
has been my word lately. But yeah, it just feels like everything is heavy. I was saying to my husband the other day, like, why does everything have to feel so hard? Just everything feels hard right now. You just making a decision about dinner right now is like,
Yeah.
we can't decide. Well, somebody has to choose. Well, you choose. I don't want to choose. It just everything feels heavy and hard.
Yeah. And especially when it comes down to those moments of like the simple stuff feeling hard and heavy,
Yeah.
that life has just really you've taken on so much.
Right.
And I think like a lot of times we have to realize too that we don't actually get to even choose. I know that we talk a lot about, okay, well, it's a choice, it's a choice, it's a choice, it's a choice. And
Mhm.
there's also some things that come to your hand of life that like you actually just get to take them on because it makes you a good person. And
Mhm.
it is a choice to do things for people that you love. It's a choice
Mhm.
to do right by the people that you work with. And it's kind of a tricky choice in like balancing, how do I take care of myself while
Yeah.
it's hard, and take on these things that I am choosing to take on. It is a choice, but also it's kind of like, I didn't choose it, but I chose it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's the story of my life these days. It's you want to be the person that is there to take care of other people, and you want to lend your support in a health crisis, or when a coworker needs an ear to listen, or when you have somebody that's not feeling well, or just needs support in any aspect. You want to be that person, and that's who I am. I am a giver, and I continue to do that, but then trying to figure out, okay, how do I balance also taking care of me? And some of those, yeah, like you were saying, it is a choice, and I choose that. And there's other situations where it's not really a choice. You could say no, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. And so just kind of battling that a little bit too.
And
But
even not
it's a
just like,
season.
yeah, but even just like not the right thing to do by society. I feel like what you're saying is, it's like, what's the right thing
Mhm.
to do by you? And deep down in your
Yeah,
heart, a lot of the choices that you're being faced with personally, professionally, family wise, all the things, like just all the things that are just stacking one on top of the other without you really feeling like you have a choice, because
right,
life just happens at inconvenient times.
right.
And right now, especially, I feel like when life is stacking thing after thing, what it usually boils down to is like two things. There's a lot of things, but one is uncertain. One is uncertainty.
Uh-huh.
Uncertainty is huge, right?
Which I don't handle well. I never
Ooh,
have.
who does? Let's sidebar on this. So, where do you think that uncertainty, like you saying, I don't handle uncertainty very well. I know that about myself. Like, how has your relationship to uncertainty changed over the years? Like, what has helped you? It still doesn't feel great, but it doesn't
Right,
feel like it's life altering like it used to, like paralyzing almost. Yeah.
right. Well,
What's changed?
I'm very type A. And so I like to be in control of things. And if you asked my family, they would say I am a perfectionist, talking about cleaning and schedules and things like that. And so, in the mundane everyday things, like I've had to let go of that and just say to myself, like, really, is it this kind of a problem or this kind of a problem? Like, can the dishes sit in the sink for a night? I don't think the world's going to come crumbling down. So I think that was more of just a mindset. But in regards to like bigger picture things, I think a lot of it over the past couple of years, I've just really grown in my faith. And so just kind of letting go of, I can have a plan and I can ask for the things that I want and I can work towards those things and I can pray about them. But for me, God is going to make his plan prevail, whether I like it or not. And so I've really just had to kind of come to that fact that, there's so many things that I cannot control, and that's okay. It doesn't make it any easier. But I think just reminding myself of that, and being a worrier as well. That's a whole nother thing I'll say. Like that adds a whole nother layer. I worry. And um, my husband says to me all the time, like, Court, you got to let go of the things that you can't control. Like, I know this is not what you want or the way you wanted it to go, but this is totally out of your realm. You had no role in this, and you just have to let it go. So that's really still, I still struggle with that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Something that I'm working on and praying about daily, but that's tough.
And
That's really,
practicing too, just
it
practicing
is.
it.
Yeah,
like
it is a fact.
consciously going, I don't want to feel paralyzed by uncertainty. I'm
Right.
choosing faith, or whatever your thing is. If you're watching and you don't like have religious beliefs or ties to God, spirit, whatever it is, like choose a thing. Choose the
Right.
thing that during times of uncertainty, you're going to shift into, right? That whatever that looks like for you. And I think that I watched something the other day that said, if you're, when you get into a state of worry, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 minutes, in 5 days, or in 5 months? And if the
Right.
answer is no, let it go. If the
Right.
answer is
Well, for
no, let
me,
it go.
yeah, it's funny that you say that, because for a long time I was like, yes, this will matter in
Yeah.
5 minutes and in 5 months and in 5 years, even though it doesn't really. But like that, where you're saying practice, like I really just have had to retrain my brain to think about things differently and to look at things differently. And I'm very open about, a lot of things that I've been through, but I've spent years in counseling dealing, with so many different things. And
Yes.
that is one practice that I have consistently gone back to over and over again, of just retraining my brain, the way that I think about things and the way that I approach things, for whatever it may be. I feel like in different seasons, like that worry is either not there or it's just really, really strong. And just honestly, like in the past couple of weeks, I've been struggling with, my mom died when I was 14, and I was the person who found her, and calling out to her, she didn't answer. But there have been a couple of situations where I've called to one of the kids at home, or, I've tried to call my husband and he didn't answer. And I have just gone into like that panic mode.
Yeah.
And I have to pause and take a breath and say, okay, what have we learned? And I just own it. And, they either eventually answer, or would call back. And I would just say, I'm in a place right now where I just had a panic moment. Like, I know what I need to do. I just need to name it and let you know. But I just feel like worry is something that kind of ebbs and flows for me. And just reminding myself of those strategies of how I can get out of it has been really helpful. But
Yeah.
it's always there. It's always going to be there,
It's always
You
there
have,
because we're built with those things. Like we all have those things. I love what you said about going to counseling for years. Let me repeat that. She said, I've
yeah,
been going to counseling for years with no shame, with no nothing. Like I know I used to go to counseling as well, and it really helped me with a lot of different things. Also have seen mentors and seen coaches, and all have helped me in different spaces and places. But what it comes back to is that soul space, that mindset shifts, the perspective shifts, the way that we talk to ourselves really, really matters. The beliefs that we choose to hold on to and use or not use, or all those types of things. And so I think it's really important that we'll all work so hard, right? Let me rephrase that. Some of us will beat ourselves up to
mhm,
get our bodies into better shape, right? Some people will
right,
just get on the body train and train and train and train. And that's great. I believe in body work. I think it's amazing to live in a healthy being and a healthy body and all that stuff. But how often do we actually take care of the one thing that's most important, which is that soul space, that mind space, that when we can unify the soul and the mind, the body and the brain, right? When we can bring those together, that's when life actually feels different. Because the reason why so
right,
many people want to make changes to their body actually has everything to do with the way they want to feel, their
mhm,
emotion. And so I just think that that's so huge that you've taken the time to know that your body and your brain deserve to live in a space that feels best for you. And
yeah,
now you can narrow the gap, I guess is what I would call it. It's like
right,
narrowing the gap of worry used to feel like, wow, and now it's like, okay, all right, we're here. Or maybe we're here today, or we're here today. But it's like it's always kind of there. It's never just poof, it's never gone, and we don't want it
right,
to be. There are
right,
things that we worry about and we think about. We have all the emotions for beautiful reasons. They all serve us and teach us lessons and get us through life in crazy ways. But yeah, I think that one of the things you were telling me earlier too is without putting like a ton of context around it, is like external things can be really exhausting. Like
Mhm.
anything or anyone outside of yourself, giving your energy to enough of that is why life eventually just feels so exhausting and so draining. Like,
Yeah.
how do you know when to tell yourself enough already? Like, this is exhausting. Enough already.
Yeah. Well, it's when you're binge watching TV and eating Oreos. That's when it tells you, like, this is enough already. But no.
I
But
love that. No, that's a perfect answer. That is a perfect, honest
well,
answer.
yeah.
That is,
I think,
that's perfect.
yeah, for me, it's when I fall back into certain habits. And
Yeah.
again, like we have talked about this so many times, but it's when I start to withdraw. And for a long
Ooh.
time, you used to always send me the turtle emoji, and you would say, "You're turtling," because I would pull into my shell. And, really probably in the past year, and you can speak to this too, like I've shared with you many times that I've started to put myself in some uncomfortable situations
Yeah.
to try to build connections that I have. Because one thing that like our pastor always talks about is like life is not meant to do alone.
Nope.
And for me, being a people pleaser and then also having so many hurts from friendships and people in my life, for me, sometimes it's just easier to close the door.
Ah,
Then also being somebody on top of that who has struggled with severe postpartum depression, anxiety. Again, that's another coping mechanism, is just to withdraw and close the door. And so this past year, it's really been a goal of mine to connect more. And life is not meant to do alone. And so when I now find myself in those situations, I will reach out and say to somebody, this is where I am. I sent you a message and just said, life feels really hard right now. And
mhm.
you can acknowledge that for me and hear it and just let me name it. Or I can reach out to a friend and say, I just need you to pray right now, or I need to go for a walk, or, I can be open with my husband. Because for a long time, like you were saying earlier, I would just shove it all down and
Yeah.
just keep going, just keep forging, do the mom thing, the teacher thing, the home thing, run myself ragged, trying to, do whatever I could. And I don't do that anymore. I feel like now it's when I find myself falling back into those habits, it's really just connection that's been so helpful for me this past year. And when I say that, I'm not saying like I don't have this huge group of friends.
Mhm.
And I have found a very select few that I can just be very honest and vulnerable with, that they don't even ask questions always. They're just like, yep, you've got it. And I have a
Yeah.
few people that will say, like you, like, stop isolating, stop withdrawing, you know, don't do that, and can kind of put me in my place. But I don't know. That's been a long, long process. I mean, you've seen me go through all of that, and it's not something that happened overnight. It's taken years,
Yeah.
years.
Years, years, but actively practicing. I'm always going to go back to
Oh
that.
yeah,
I'm always going to
yep,
go back to that. We have to be active participants in our lives.
yeah,
We cannot be bystanders. We cannot be victims. We have to just go, okay, just own up. Own up to your feelings and just get it out, say it to a trusted friend. I love what you said about like connection, because I feel like to be alive is to just be in relationship. That's
mhm,
what it's all about. If and
right,
that is, there's so many layers to be in relationship with yourself,
hmm.
right? If you're somebody who doesn't feels like you don't have anybody right now, just start by working on the relationship with yourself. Create
Well,
connection
let's
with
pause there
yourself.
for a minute,
Yeah.
because that was one thing I struggled with for a very long time, was myself, even just being alone with myself,
Oh,
and
me
that
too.
that
Woo.
stems back to losing my mom. That goes way, way back. But there was a time that I remember, and I don't know if you'll remember it as vividly as I do, but my kids were in Florida with their grandmother, and my husband was going away for a weekend, and I was going to be home alone for 3 days. And I panicked. And I
Mhm.
remember calling you and saying, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, crying, come visit me, trying to get my husband not to go. And I just remember you saying to me, like, what do you enjoy doing when you are just with yourself? And I named off some things, and you were like, okay, get in your car. And one of them was like, I love to read on the beach and I love to drink coffee. And you said, okay, get in your car,
Go.
drive to the beach, call me when you get there. And so I did. I got in the car, I drove to the beach, and I called you, and you're like, okay, now what are you going to do? I'm going to read. Okay, you're going to read your book for an hour, and then you're going to call me. And this went on for probably 2 or 3 hours of somebody just pushing me to be in that space. And so that was a huge turning point for me, just recognizing that I needed to work on myself and being with myself, because I don't think I ever realized it until I was in that position and I had that moment of panic. And
Mm.
now I know I love to be alone. I mean, I would take being alone any day. And it just makes me laugh because I never used to do that. I mean, we used to get in fights. I would purposely pick a fight with my husband when he was going away for a weekend so that he wouldn't go. And I know I've done that to friends and other people, but that was my own issue that I needed to deal with. And so
Yeah.
working through all of that, like, now I am okay with myself and I have a great relationship with myself. I love me.
Yeah.
But I wasn't always in that place.
That's Thank you for sharing that. I love that story so much. And it's, again, it goes back to narrowing the gap. It's like, you're not alone. I'll be here for you, but I'm going to invite you to go do the thing that you need most, which is to practice being alone. Like,
Right.
call me when you need me, but like, you have to start allowing yourself that these like little breadcrumbs. And now, like you said, it's like, oh, I can't wait till I get some alone time. This is
I know.
amazing. There's so many things that I love to do with myself. And
Right.
for me, it fluctuates too. There are days
Yeah.
where I'm like, man, I wish I had somebody right now, like just
Right.
right now doing this exact thing. And then there's other days where I'm like, wow, I just love this spaciousness. I
Mhm.
wish I could have just another day alone, just another day
Right.
alone. But that was after hitting rock bottom after my divorce and being like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to be alone. I've only been with someone else and only been surrounded by friends my whole life, my
Mhm.
whole life. Like, I don't know how to do
Yep.
this. I don't know who this person is. I don't know,
Right.
so it really is like when you can light that connection within yourself, and then you can use that authentic version of yourself to connect with other people, then you're able to
Right.
actually make the right connections, because
Yeah.
there are connections that aren't meant for you. And if
Oh
we can
yeah.
just like start to recognize and acknowledge, I think for me sometimes I get worried that if I connect with somebody, then I'm gonna have to like be their best friend forever. Not you, because that's a non-negotiable for me, like this for a
Right.
long
That's not
time.
an option.
But sometimes when I meet new people, I'm like, okay, I want to have more connections, especially like locally, because we're long distance now. We have been for a while, but I'd like to have some local connections. But it's kind of like this part of me tells this story like, well, if I connect with that person, then they're gonna like want to be with me forever. And what if I don't want to be with them forever?
Mhm.
Instead of
Mhm.
just and that's such a silly thing. Just to
No,
just
it is. Yeah,
know
I
that
hear you though.
you have
And
the
I
ability as humans, we have the ability to just go like, you know what? I no longer want to be in a relationship with you.
right.
And
Yeah.
it feels
And I
gross and
think
it feels icky and we
it
don't know how to
it
say it. We don't
does.
know how to do it. But otherwise,
No.
we have these like extra things clinging on to us that are just not the energy we need to support us. And then we can't make space for the people that are actually just like waiting for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what I did for a long time. You were saying your fear is that, well, then I'm going to have to be their best friend. And I think for me, because I've had so many hurtful relationships that I fear that, and how difficult is it going to be to have a relationship with this person. And I don't even know anything about them, but like my mind starts going through like, well, what if they were like this person or this person? And then you're stuck in this situation. And so my brain starts to go there. And like you were saying, then I just become so closed off. And I'm not anymore. And again, like that all goes back to counseling and continuing to practice the things that I learn and that I've worked on. But it means putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, meeting people where they're at, and not having any expectations, which that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
But
oh yeah.
That is another thing that I've worked on so much, is just meet people where they are at and not have any expectations. And then from there, like you get to choose. You're going to feel what's right for you and what's not. And there's situations you can choose to put yourself in or not put yourself in. And, there's some relationships where you have to learn to set some boundaries. But I feel for me, like I've just been so much more open once I let go of a lot of those things and have really just accepted people where they are in the moment that I've met them, because there's an obvious reason why I was put on the same path if I'm feeling drawn to somebody.
Totally.
And I've just really tried to respect that.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I feel like I want to ask you about this thing that, like, what keeps you going? Because especially right now, like what keeps you going when the hard keeps piling up?
For me, it's kind of hard. Well, can't think of the right
What
words
keeps you from
to
calling in
describe
sick
that,
for
but
like a whole week? Like you could call in sick for a whole week, put your head over your covers and say to your husband, I don't know, figure it out. Figure it out. I don't even know.
right.
Goodbye. And then like he's calling people to get you help, but but
Yeah.
you don't. What keeps you up and out of bed? What keeps you going?
I think it's one, my purpose. And when I say my purpose, like I know that I have a purpose for walking this earth, and I know that I'm here for a reason. And as much as things might feel hard, there's a reason why I'm in that situation. Maybe it's to support somebody in a really difficult time that they've been through, that or are going through, that I've been through. Or maybe it's, as a teacher, maybe there's a specific student that I'm just meant to love on and to help. So I think it's that. And then I think the second thing too is crawling into bed and calling in sick for a week does not align to the person that I want to be. And I'm working really hard to become that person. And so it's just really not an option for me. I could do a day or, take a mental health day here and there. But there are things that I want to do. And I want to be a person who is impacting other people and supporting other people and making a difference. And I can't do that if I shut myself in my room for a week. I have my family first and foremost, and, my kids. I am not replaceable to them. And as much as I am replaceable in a job or, where I choose to work, like I still just couldn't call it quits and not follow through with who I want to be. So
I love that. Like you are so reliable, and that is something that I know you look for in other people and you don't always get it. And maybe that is why you keep showing up. Like you want to be the reliable person. You don't want to let people down because you've been let down a lot of times. And I think that that's really special about you. So I just want you to know that it's one of the best things about being your best friend. It's like you're so freaking reliable and your heart is so huge. So I want to end on something that you said to me yesterday, which is I said, like, I said, what did I say to you? I said to you, like, how are you feeling? Like, how are you feeling today? How are
I,
you feeling today? And you said back to me, no one's asked me how I'm feeling. And I think people just need to be seen and need to be heard and need to be asked once in a while. It doesn't mean you have to do something for them. It just invites people to actually speak out loud how they are feeling so they can get it
right,
out of their body and release it. And we need to be able to do that. And so I always give people a call to action at the end of each segment here. And my call to action for people today is to just ask someone today, how are you feeling?
right.
Text your best friend, text one of your parents or your cousins or somebody that you really care about, whoever it is, and say, how you feeling today?
Right.
And that's it. That's it.
And
Do you have any? Yeah.
yeah, and just to clarify, like why I said that to you is I feel like we fall into this habit of saying to people, how are you?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
really just gives people the opportunity to say, I'm good, I'm
Yeah.
okay. And I even did it when you asked me at the beginning, I'm hanging in there, like
Yeah.
we give these very generic answers. When you ask somebody, how are you feeling? It opens the door to an opportunity for them to be honest and vulnerable. And I also think it shows people like you have a genuine interest, not even just how they're doing, but how are you feeling? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling hurt? Are you feeling like excited or joyful today or happy? Like it just creates an opportunity for more connection. So, yes, please ask people, how are you feeling? Not how are you? How are you feeling?
Yeah. And know that when they tell you how they're feeling, no matter what it is, you can say something really simple back to them, which is, and it's okay to feel all of that. Whether
Yeah,
it's like, I'm feeling freaking on fire, like,
right,
oh yeah, it's
right.
okay to feel that. And if they're
Yeah,
like, I'm just feeling like all just like, so sad and down and out, like it's okay to feel all of that. Give people
right.
validation that how are you feeling today? How are
Hmm.
you feeling right now? Tell me how you're feeling. And then it's okay to feel all of that. Because I think a
Right,
lot of times people hesitate to ask how people are feeling because they think there's going to be something that they need to do. Okay, what can I do for you? How can I be there for you? What do you need me to run you something over? And that's a beautiful extension if you authentically feel aligned that there's something that you need to ask. But you can also
right.
just say, you have permission to feel all that.
Yeah.
Permission
Just
to,
tell them that you hear them, you see them. I
yes,
mean,
yes.
that has been so powerful to me. And my sister does a really great job of that. She just listens and she's like, I see you. I validate everything that you just said. And it just makes me go, okay, somebody hears me, somebody sees me. And sometimes that's all that I need. I don't always need anybody to even do anything, but just the space to name it and
Yes.
for somebody to just kind of hold on to that space with me is
Yes.
just so powerful.
Ah, I love you so freaking much.
I
Thank you for
love
coming on and being so open and honest. I know you are always are with me, but it means so much that you are out here on a big platform, just going live, being unfiltered, letting people know that it's okay that life when life's kicking your ass. Like it's okay. Dig into that purpose and keep freaking going. Like just
you.
live with the ebbs and flows. It's okay. Like it's okay to feel what you're feeling. So thanks so much for joining.
Absolutely.
You're
You're welcome.
amazing. You're amazing. I'll drop kind of like different your little Instagram handle on in the show notes. So if people want to send you messages and just say thanks or in the comments below, you guys can totally do that. And let Cortney and I know, from two best friends with any topic that's out there that you could jam on. What do you guys want to hear about? This won't be the last time she's on the show. So what do you want us to talk about, expand on, leave it in the comments or send either one of us a DM on Instagram. So have a great day, love. I love you so freaking much. And to the rest of you, go out into the world, shine your light bright and live a limitless life. See you later.
Mwah.